a true serum for your investment and insurance questions. I'm Josh Knoll, the owner of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Jay Stubbs, the Regional Director for First Protective. We are brought to you on the Prime Capital Investment Advisors Podcast Network. So Jay, I hope this is the last time I say this. We normally don't timestamp our podcasts, but this is not normal. What do you think?
No, we've done a good 2-3 handfuls of these things. The first 10, I think we did not have any timestamp because we wanted them to be relevant at any moment in time when they were listened to. Now we are timestamping them because we want people to understand that, hey, this is unprecedented. We want people to know that we're coming at them with different topics, different speakers, different guests on our show that all have something to add as to it relates to this pandemic that we're experiencing, the market turmoil that we're experiencing, the interruption in business that we're experiencing, all of that. So we are date and time stamping these. We are doing it.
Time. So this is April 16th, 2020. And yeah, as Jay just alluded to, we got, quite a bit of things going on with COVID-19, market uncertainty, all those things. Now, our regular listeners already know that Jay and I decided weeks ago that we would attack this crisis to the best of our ability by pivoting our podcast and our content to ideas and concepts that we felt could potentially help people navigate the crisis. So with that said, what you're tuning into now is the Leadership in a Time of Crisis series, where you get to hear from some people that I feel are leaders in our industry, and that are kind of providing some guidance to advisors, to clients, to plan participants, the whole thing. What you're going to hear from somebody today that has got quite a bit on his plate. His name is Tony Woodard, and he is the Chief Compliance Officer for Prime Capital Investment Advisors and Qualified Plan Advisors. Tony's going to give us a behind-the-scenes look at the compliance decisions facing a compliance department of what is a large independent RIA during a time of unprecedented time of crisis. But before we dive in that with Tony, we're going to have our friends from Sloth Racer Band kick us off. Tony, how y'all doing today?
Josh, good to be with you. Good to be on this podcast. It's beautiful outside, but we're getting some work accomplished through our Zoom platform and our podcast studio remotely.
Yep, very good. Mr. Tony Woodard, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Coming at you remote as well, from just outside of Kansas City. Our offices are in Overland Park, so I'm actually on the other side of state line, reporting from our homes and everything. So looking forward to this discussion.
Well, you're on the proper side of the state line. You're on the Missouri side, right?
That's right.
That's right. I could say some things about Kansas, but I better not. I better not poke the bear. So, well, before we dive into what we're going to talk about with you, we got a quick housekeeping for compliance. Jay Stubbs and First Protective are not affiliated with Prime Capital Investment Advisors or with Qualified Plan Advisors or with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. Josh Knoll is not affiliated with First Protective, and Tony Woodard is not affiliated with First Protective or Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. As Jay says, we're all just professional buddies.
That's right.
So, I like it. All right, Tony, I want to kick this off, and then after my question, Jay, I know he's got a couple things he wants to ask you. First, how'd you get into the industry, and what is your current role now? Give us some background on you.
Sure. I've been in the financial services industry since 2002, and including as a rep advisor like yourself, Josh. But I've been in an executive leadership role as CCO for around 10 years now. And so like many of our colleagues, I've experienced the tail end of the 2002 downturn, the 2008 financial crisis, and now, of course, the COVID-19 crisis. And I think while this crisis truly is unique and truly unprecedented, there are some common factors. There's some commonalities that I think I've seen throughout all of the crises that I pointed to.
What are some of those, Tony? Tell me a little bit of some commonalities. You've been around the industry. You've seen what's going on. We've got a bull market the last 12 years. We've got some recession going on now in the economy. But what are some commonalities that you've seen based on your historical career?
Sure. I think one of the common factors, and again, it points to the importance of our role, not only as an advisory firm, but also as rep advisors, is the importance of taking and having proactive communication with our clients. I can remember in 2008 working as much as possible to be proactive, being the one to pick up the phone, make the calls, run those planning scenarios, do whatever I could, because that's the right thing to do. That's our role in these types of situations. You think about contacts that may have been more quarterly or annually became monthly or even weekly, and so I can't speak to enough of that. That's the importance. And I know time always is a scarce resource, but it was important then and is now to be there for our clients as much as possible. And so that's something that we instill all the way from leadership through all of our rep advisors and staff, is to very much be proactive.
What about some business continuity stuff? Josh and I both are very familiar with that world. This has brought a lot of aspects of our industry, like business continuity and being off-site, remote access, remote operations. Quite frankly, it's a different animal for a lot of folks. Our industry had progressed this way a little bit, but now we're full scale. Some companies even 100% remote. So talk about business continuity from your perspective.
That's a great point. It's a lot of those behind the scene things that we have, business continuity, being able to operate remote and securely. Those are the things that are now in the forefront. I think about just not so long ago, just a matter of a few weeks ago,
Right.
One of the key functions within my area of responsibility is also trading. And our director of trading came into my office and said, Tony, what happens if this gets worse? What happens if we're not able to get into the building or go to work? And we all like, crazy, huh? I mean, and we're approaching it like that.
That'll never happen.
Yeah. After a few minutes of discussion, it became clear that we needed to implement certain aspects of our business continuity plan. And so it's a full scale effort. You got multiple departments, our operations, and you think about it. We have to make sure that those company issued devices are working properly and are up to date. And then really more importantly, not only do we want to have our traders test those capabilities remotely, but actually place trades live, actually place real trades in that secure remote environment. And so when everything then happened, the stay-at-home orders and so forth, I felt we were as prepared as much as possible, and the trading aspects and those functions continued uninterrupted. And I do want to give some kudos to our trading team. And Josh, you've experienced, Jay, you're seeing this. It's unprecedented volatility. And when those types of things happen in the market, our advisory committee, our portfolio managers are seeing that need to rebalance all of our clients' portfolios, is pretty much most all of them. And needless to say, our trading team placed a lot of trades. I mean, a significant number of trades, many thousands, all remote and pretty much all without a hitch. And that's been exciting to watch. Both a little scary, but they've really stepped up, and it's been impressive.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Josh.
Yeah, so Tony, you are getting to know me better, and by way of knowing me, you're getting to know Jay better. So Jay and I started a business relationship now going on 5 years ago. And then as the years have rolled on, we developed a friendship, whereas about a year or 2 years ago, I said, hey, Jay, I'm thinking about going independent. I'm not going to have anybody, any marketing, anybody feeding me. I'm going to do this on my own, and I need some help. So he dove in firsthand. You're seeing kind of the evolution of that. The point of me saying that is, as time went on, about a year ago, I told him, I said, hey, there's this company out of Kansas City that a couple of friends of mine are running, and I really feel like they're on the cutting edge when it comes to technology and compliance, which was a big thing in my world doing the marketing I was doing. I said, I'm going to have some conversations with them and see what happens. Well, here's the point of what I'm saying, Tony. Can you give the listeners just a little bit of background on the intentionality that you feel was put into place with Prime Capital Investment Advisors and Qualified Plan Advisors, not just a month ago or 2 months ago, But as time has gone on with the collaboration, the team building, the push to be at the forefront of handling things electronically, I don't think any of that was by accident. Is that fair?
I think that's absolutely so. So it does seem like as we enter into a crisis situation, is it a timing perspective? Is it a stroke of luck? Of course, there's some aspects of that. But to your point, and you're aware of this for some time, our firm has been implementing more things like electronic new account opening, service request, workflows, using more of those technologies that you see in your everyday life, such as DocuSign and Salesforce. And that has allowed us, it positioned us to be as prepared as possible. And I think that's some of the looking back, some of the lessons that you take. You don't know what's going to happen. And it sounds a very simple statement, but trying to be prepared as much as possible. Some of that was ancillary. Some of that just happened to be by putting these processes in effect. We were looking more to, of course, make the client experience much more efficient and be able to get their directions and their objectives into the market and placed and trades placed, everything very efficiently. But I think another important aspect, and this is, I can't speak to this enough, is to continue to have that real-time situational awareness of the client's the needs and the concerns and risk tolerance and a lot of the investment understanding. And most importantly, everything going on, has there been a change to their circumstances? I mean, every day we read, and just today they released the revised unemployment numbers, and it's truly heartbreaking. It is. It's heartbreaking to see the effect that this, the COVID-19 crisis is having on everyone, both from a medical standpoint, but also this economic and unemployment standpoint. And I think, the negative impact to all our clients, we're going to see more and more of that. And so how can we increase those lines of communication, from a firm standpoint to a rep advisor standpoint? And I think utilizing those software and those types of concepts, but also maybe capitalizing on opportunities that present themselves. So I want to say hats off to our compliance team. As you know, Josh, there's most advisory firms like ours, the first part of the year, we have to make a certain disclosure document. So you think of like the Form ADV2A, the RAP fee brochures. We have to make those available to our clients. And we took this opportunity to also include a new online a client survey. And allowing folks to just let us know, has there been a change? Has there been a change to your circumstances? Has there been a change to your investment objectives? But also trying to elicit some response on how we can do things better, and always trying to take from that to make the relationship better. And so we've had pretty good response on that. Quite a few people logged into that secure site, and it was very simple, 6 to 7 questions. But that's a timing standpoint, maybe a stroke of luck, but it's also trying to find those ways that you can partner one process with another.
Tony, a couple of quick questions from me. Yes, no, or maybe from you. These aren't anything that, these are just popping in my head right now. So just for your knowledge. So I think, do you agree, or yes, no, or maybe, somebody today versus 6 months ago, risk tolerance may not be what it was 6 months ago? You think?
There is maybe the perception and risk tolerance. And I know that plays a lot into it. But what we try to tell folks, and as we engage with clients, and it's important, always remember that maybe decisions made in the heat of the moment, in the short term, could and generally do have long-term consequences. So it's important maybe to take them through the whole risk tolerance evaluation process, the questionnaires, and more importantly, the discussions. And then you may find that their real underlying risk tolerance hasn't changed. It's just the emotion and the perception that is affecting all of us, even us as advisors. But I would say, we have not seen a lot of, true changes to risk tolerance where people are maybe taking the further step of downshifting a portfolio to a more conservative. We have seen a lot of folks seeing this as an opportunity to perhaps even invest. So I think it's a client by client, case by case situation, but it speaks to the importance of that discussion. So
I listen to Dr. Kevin Elko quite a bit. Josh knows that I've listened to him quite a bit. He's got a podcast out with one of the companies out there that's put it out. He's got 3 words that he's telling advisors and other professionals in our area to remember: feel, felt, find. How does that make you feel? What is all of this making you feel like? Where do you think, or what is the whole felt situation? Here's how I felt. So relating back to the customer. So Josh, you might say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, or how I felt about it, and then end it with what we find is, or what lack of a better word, it's how you embrace this experience. You're going to find that you might be a little bit different emotionally towards the market. Your risk tolerance might be a little bit different, but how do you feel now? What did we feel together? And then where are you going to find yourself in the future? So I like that kind of concept. I'm glad you're on the same page with your risk tolerance. Some people are just going to have to accept it. They're not going to be, where they are, where they thought they were. They're not going to be able to mentally or emotionally or in their gut handle it. But some are going to be like, hey, I can handle this now because of the advisor relationship.
I think that's an excellent point. And it's important for us to also remember that generally we do want to recommend taking a long-term approach, but let us again know if there are the circumstances that have changed that may require a more tactical approach or that are calling out for immediate action. There is sometimes, especially as our folks are in the retirement phase or the distribution phase of their lives. So I think that's a great point.
Tony, I got one more thing for you. So I think you've gotten a little bit of a grasp on part of the reason that Jay and I do this podcast and some of our content. A lot of it is just try to cut through some of the noise surrounding the financial services industry. I mean, just to be honest with you, we both came together and we felt like that there was things out there that just at best were unclear, at worst were misleading. And we felt like we were 2 pretty honest guys that were going to try to put some information out there to the best of our ability and try to help enlighten and educate people, right? All that said, from a compliance standpoint, how do you feel, what are some things, a piece of wisdom or advice you would give to advisors or people, registered reps or financial services professionals as we start going through this? What are some things pitfalls they need to watch out for with compliance?
Sure. That's something that we're always self-assessing, both from a leadership position and looking at the firm and our rep advisors. The question, what can we improve on? How can we get even better? And so again, I want to circle back to the importance of client communication. And Josh, we have a fair number of rep advisors at PCIA, some of which are experienced and some of which are really new to the industry. And so I think especially for our newer advisors, it's important for us in compliance and for those of us that are in a supervisory capacity to, again, share the ideas on how to ask the right questions, given everything that's going on, how to elicit that information, how to really craft and I think communicate investment recommendations to clients, especially in the market. You think about it, one day it goes down 12%, the next day it's up 10%. Making sure that does not cloud, and we spoke of this just a second ago, it's not clouding our own vision. And we are taking a truly tailored approach, but kind of trying to ignore the noise and use the process in the communication with the client. Again, I drive this home, reminding everyone and try to keep as much as possible a long-term perspective, hearing those concerns, and but also being aware of circumstances that need and require attention. With respect to think of a peer supervisory role, when we think about our ways we communicate, media content, one of the things that my department we're trying to do is to make sure that our approval process for media content, for instance, is tailored to what's going on now, the urgency. And so specifically how we've done that is we are being involved earlier in the development process. I know we've talked a lot, sharing ideas, not only after we've had a podcast or are in the process of kind of evaluating, but also in the creative process, because it naturally allows things to gain approval. I mean, we have regulations, we have standards that this industry has, and they're there for a reason. But it's a lot easier to get things live to the street in a compliant manner if we're all involved working together earlier in the process. So that's one of the key things that we've stepped up, especially in this crisis.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Tony. And I'm gonna make one final statement, then I'm gonna allow you to say anything you want in closing. I think you probably are aware of this, but we have a fairly high percentage of show listeners that are actually in the business, both fellow Prime affiliated advisors and then quite a few advisors outside of that network. Part of that is just simply from the fact that I'm a financial advisor with a podcast. Part of that, the fact is that Jay Stubbs has a pretty substantial network along the Gulf Coast. But the point of that being is I do want to plug your department a little bit. I mean, I came out of a compliance situation where originally where I didn't even know if they had a face. I mean, they were just they were a voice on a phone telling me no to everything. And so as my career has gone on, I realized to do this top of mind, relatively quick content style of marketing, man, I really had to have a relationship with my compliance department. So I want to say from a fee-based financial advisor that if any of them out there listening to this show that are looking at doing this style of marketing, you'd be hard pressed to find a better compliance department or better home than Prime Capital Investment Advisors. So thank you on that. And Tony, I'm going to go ahead and, if you don't mind, if you got anything in closing, we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up.
Couple, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your feedback and our relationship and the relationship we have with a lot of our rep advisors. I will say to that point about our culture and speaking to those of you that are in our industry, our goal is to, how do we say, always try to be coaches and not cops, helping people understand why things are a certain way and trying to craft and find a solution. Just as we do with clients, you think about all of our teammates, all of our rep advisors, you're our clients also. We want to make sure that we're trying to find a solution. So that's always our challenge. That's our call to action from a compliance standpoint. But I think in closing, as far as the circumstances that we find ourselves in with this COVID-19 crisis, this really is our call to action as rep advisors, as advisory firms, to be there for the clients, to be proactive, to reach out as much as you can. And also, as you're doing, Josh, find ways for there to be maybe different mediums and approaches to communicating with clients, such as, podcasts and also things that are more online and can somewhat automate. I mean, you want to have that one-on-one discussion when appropriate, but there's only so much time in the day. So let technology and process help with that to allow you to make more effective use of your time so you can connect with clients. But I think that's the key thing I drive it home is proactive communication, and then from a leadership standpoint, making sure to facilitate that for you all. So I appreciate you having me on today, and appreciate the opportunity to speak to your viewers and listeners. And as to everyone, I say, stay well, and have a great rest of your week. And we'll get through this soon. But I appreciate the opportunity.
That's awesome. Next time when you come on, you got to play music. So,
yeah,
listeners,
yeah.
Tony's a pretty talented musician with quite a rock band. What's the name of the band?
Somewhat fitting. Toxic Assets.
That's right.
kind of coming out of the last crisis, we thought, hey, it's a band. I'll tell you real quick about it. There was an opportunity for us to participate in a charity to help facilitate the arts in the workplace here in Kansas City. It's been about 8 years ago. And so a lot of us around the office were like, we want to participate in this. And so we're asking I kind of heard that Tony plays guitar and, Dave and Jeff, they play drums and we kind of put this together. But at the end of the day, we competed. It was a great audience at the famed Gym Theater there in Kansas City, and we won. We won People's Choice and everything, and it kind of just ignited us where we actually play paid
Very cool,
and try to do that and play a lot of charity things to help folks out as well. So
Well, that's fantastic. Well, all right. So if you all would like to reach the show, you can call or text 251-327-2124 to leave a message. Plus, you can visit gulfcoastfa.com. That's FA as in financial advisor, or PCIAwealth.com to hear this podcast or any of other podcasts. Plus, you can find Tony Woodard's bio and contact information there if you'd like to have a follow-up conversation. And then lastly, to all you independent and semi-independent advisors and agents out there, occasionally I will share Jay Stubbs. I know he is a man in demand, a man in demand. So if you'd like to reach out to him, you can find him at jstubbs.com. That's JAYSTUBBS.com. So another show in the can. I want to thank Tony Woodard.
Hey Josh, we probably need to thank our frontline workers, the nurses, the doctors, anybody that's wearing a mask in a hospital or a facility, to everyone sacrificing so much to save so many. Thank you so much.
Could not agree more, Jay. Very well said. So thank you to those folks. Thank you to Tony Woodard, the Chief Compliance Officer, Prime Capital Investment Advisors, for joining us today. You did great, just like I knew you would. Many thanks to our producer, Johnny Gwynn of Deep Fried Studios, and to my co-host, Jay Stubbs. And then lastly, just a huge shout out to all of y'all that have joined Jay and I on this journey, and to those of you joining us now. This has been Every Dollar Counts with Josh and Jay. Thank you and have a great day.